Hey, Abith here. I am processing many things about about healing on all levels, about pain, about victimhood. What I've been through the last year in healing from multiple motor conflicts and scare fright conflicts and various other conflicts that were swirled into a big a big huge bomb. As I've been going through this process of resolution, so many things have come to surface to look at and process. And sometimes during this last year of constant shaking, tremoring, spasming, along with other symptoms and emotions and psychoses and everything else, I feel myself at a point where I'm not just processing what led to this, what the original conflict shocks were, but I'm processing what I've been through this last year, which was another trauma, basically. It's been really hard. And so I'm processing that, and like all of them together. And old shit just keeps coming up. Old bitterness, old pain. It just keeps coming and coming. Sometimes I need to just hear myself talk and hear what comes out, because my head will go loop-de-loop on a lot of things, and my head really likes to loop-de-loop on the negative. My mind really got programmed towards survival, what's coming at me next, how am I going to deal with it, overwhelm, everything is just, trying to kill me. And so my mind can go very quickly to the negative, and I recognize that part of this process is the healing of my mind as well. And so sometimes when I speak, normally when I speak, the words, I can hear the tone of my truth in my words versus what is coming from my, what is being vomited out of my not self-mind, my mentality that has been in survival mode my whole life. So like when my trauma is speaking, and when there is the clear voice that's getting clear, that's like the thing that in me that rings a bit truer when I speak. So it's an interesting experience to get the microphone in front of me and see what comes out and hear myself and possibly share. I don't always. Sometimes I record myself, listen to it, and then I throw it away. But there is something about saying things out loud that is useful for me, and potentially could be useful for somebody else if you listen to this and it rings, something in it rings true for you too. So let's see. I never know what actually is going to come out, but around the question of, wow, I just went blank. It's like, maybe nothing's gonna come out. Maybe nothing is gonna come out. That's okay. The words letting go, that's present right now. Yeah, the word victimization, that's present now. Fluidity, that's present. Rigidity. Listening. Openness. Adaptability, flexibility. I don't know why these words are just coming up. They're all words that have to do with this experience from different points of view and different parts of the pendulum swing. Being in survival mode, I could say neurologically speaking, nervous system speaking, being in that kind of mode, for me, has meant like just constantly living out my trauma in every connection. And I'm recognizing that now. Yeah, okay, I'll say this. This is coming up. This week has been like this last week was like an explosion of awarenesses that are shifting things inside my bitterness. If I can say it like that. In 2021, I closed my dance school, Swing Station. It was the closure I had been looking for, like my soul had been looking for at least 7 years. So since 2014, when I had my first pulmonary embolism, there was a shift at that time where I was like, oh, I cannot keep doing what I'm doing, and I cannot keep living the way I'm living. And if the two words the phrase that comes to mind is energetic overwhelm. I've lived the majority of my life in energetic overwhelm. If you look at my design, I have 3 centers. My human design, I have 3 centers defined: spleen, G, and throat. All my motors then are undefined. My root is completely open. I have an open head as well, or an undefined head, an ajna. I'm really sensitive to pressure, the pressure sandwich, as Rahu called it, of being in life and not having my own internal pressure, but being so sensitive to the pressure around me. And my trauma reaction is to faint fawn, or if I can't, it strikes out. Like I need to strike out. Like the overwhelm will have me amplifying and energy and like becoming, I don't know, she-demon. I don't know why that word came, but I can see myself like amplifying energy and just throwing it out at the people around me because I just can't take it. I can't take with all this energy floating inside me. Anyway, I was recognizing this in 2014, and little by little I sought more solitude. And I was like, I want out of this swing station thing. I am not built for running a business, for being a boss, for being responsible for other people. I don't have that kind of energy, that kind of capacity to be responsible for a team and for their energetic flow, and for it's just too overwhelming. The pieces were all overwhelming. It was, I wanted out, I didn't want to stop dancing or teaching. I loved that. I just couldn't deal with all of the organizational pieces and all the energetic pieces. I mean, I would have explosions in, like, emotional explosions in meetings and stuff like this because I just couldn't handle the pressure. Look at my design. I can see it now. I wasn't built for it. I wasn't designed to do anything I've been doing the last 14 years. And I was like, I just see this doggy paddle, like, trying to swim with my head above water, just a little bit above, just at least keep my nose out of the water. That's how I felt, like, all the time. And so since 2014, I was wanting out, and I had no idea how to get out. Like, I've always lived financially, like, month to month. So it wasn't like I had any kind of savings, like, okay, I can, stop doing this. And I had no idea. Plus, I'm a right mind, right brain. I don't know. I'm, projector aura, the invitation, if it's not there. And really the invitation to get out wasn't there. Like, I just remember looking at, like, how do I get out of this? How do I get out of this? And it was just constantly, the tide was coming, pulling me. More, do this, more. And so there was, like, this feeling in me, like, on the one side, I could feel, like, the center of me pulling back, and more solitude, wanting more isolation to energetically heal myself. Though I didn't really have words or capacity to explain it at that point. I just felt like I need distance. And then on the other hand was, like, this energetic wave pulling me along this project that just, like, I see an octopus with all its arms or tentacles. I just, like, moving, festival here, festival there, traveling to teach this, that, and the other. And then, my undefined ego, like, I need to prove that I can do all this stuff because I see all these other people doing it. I need to prove that I'm, the best. Mind fuckery. So, yeah, from 2014 to 2021, I wanted out, and I didn't know how to get out. And then the restrictions around around COVID, the restrictions that were put in place killed my school. Sadly and thankfully. And because of that, I had somebody in my life that recognized I needed financial help and started helping me. And that is what has been floating me for the last few years. Because the new thing has not really appeared. And I can see that because I'm still healing from this. I'm still letting go. I'm still healing. I'm still dealing with the processing and healing of those years thrown into that project that I didn't have capacity for. And somebody who from my project, I was speaking to them the other day, and so kindly they asked me, would you like a point of view about why, what some people see who were involved in the project, or students or whatnot. This person wasn't specific. They just asked me if I wanted a perspective. So kind. This is a projector, by the way. And I said yes. And they were very honestly telling me that people felt, I don't know who exactly, but there are people who felt that I had a difficult personality and it was difficult to relate to me. And it was really painful to hear. And I had been prepped to hear this because the theme around relating had already come up in the week, and I had a conversation with a close friend because we had miscommunications and misunderstandings, and that had brought up a lot of conversation about relating. And it was just in my field, kind of everywhere already. I was dealing with, like, okay, what do I do with this bitterness I have, and then the auspiciousness of, like, the last couple days ago was the day before I spoke to this projector was the day, how do I say this? It's the mark of like 1 year from now. Like, so next year on that same day, on the 26th of June, I'll have my Chiron. And my Chiron gate is gate 3, line 5, victimization. What am I healing? My tendency to victimization. And it's still something that, I mean, I can't speak right now too much about that because I'm still reflecting on that gate and everything. But interesting, isn't it? Like, in victimization mode, my tendency is shut down or lash out. And it's like to deal with the energetic overwhelm, to deal with this pressure that is pulling me places that I can't control and that might not feel good to me. And how do I deal with it? So interesting that all of these things kind of coincided. There were other pieces too that coincided, but then, so when this projector told me this, you know, some people see you as having a difficult personality and they try to relate to you and they can't. And I was like, yeah, I can see that. I can see that because all those years I was trying to keep my nose above water. And I either shut down or lashed out so many times. Not always, obviously, like there were good things too, but it just, when I look at it right now, what I see is that's what I see. Like, I've spent those years trying to cope with fitting into something that I didn't fit into, with trying to be something I wasn't, that I'm not. And actually, like, who I really am is very relaxed, passive, pretty quiet, introspective, gentle. That's a word that's come up in my healing process. Like, that's my nature. But that's not what a lot of people saw in certain situations when I was in overwhelm. And then what do I do in overwhelm? Taking decisions is like hyper control. So try to hyper control what's going on around me because where is this tide going to take me? Where is this wave going to take me? Try to hyper control it. So, yeah. So this person telling me this was like, I feel sad about that. I feel sad that there are people who have that taste in their mouth from relating to me. And makes sense because they were bumping up against my not self. And my not self is not pretty. It's not. It's really not. It's a huge amplification of energy. And I'm not emotionally defined. So, we know us non-emotionals, when we amplify emotional energy, it is way worse than an emotional person. We explode because we don't really know how to deal with that inside ourselves in the same way. My gate 49, hypersensitive. An undefined 49 can be a really hypersensitive being. Which, interesting, my Uranus opposition is the cross of explanation. So the gate 49 plays a huge part of that cross. So that's been, that's a theme that I've been recognizing and seeing over the last years. As I'm been in my Uranus opposition and now moving into my Chiron next year. So I'm just processing this because also my first automatic pilot reflex to be quote unquote criticized like that is to feel criticized and to go into shutdown because I've made other people feel like whatever they feel and blah, 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 blah. And so I'm a shitty person and and I can recognize that as also my childhood trauma. Like in our house, it was perfectionism that you had to have. And anything less than that was shit. And I mean, how often was I called worthless by my father? Often. And other words of that sort. So I can see that there's a default programming that if there's no awareness and if I'm not centered and my nervous system isn't calm, then that default programming takes over. So shut down or lash out. And wow, it's amazing how sometimes the words just disappear. And then I'm like, well, what was I don't know what came before. Whew. I often so get lost. If you're right mind, right brain, I'm sure you can relate to a degree. It's like you're talking and you're like, where the hell am I? Like if you're driving on the road, you're driving somewhere and you're like, all of a sudden you're like, where am I going again? You don't exactly know where you are. That just happened to me. I don't know where I am, but I feel like I said some things that I needed to say. And I have my very close, as close as can be with all limitations of my design. The person that I'm closest to at the moment is a splenic projector that lives in another city here in Portugal. And we, and I often, I tell her about kind of these things. We process a lot together and share our experiences in our deconditioning and healing and our, growing awareness of what's happening around us and what's happening to us and what does that mean about us. Yeah, it becomes more clear also the question of me with a projector aura, how I'm gonna know myself from what others see or don't see in me. And here's the thing that's coming up. I've been still attached since finally closing the school in 2021 and being able to get the out that I needed. Have a hanging gate 42 and an undefined sacral, which is also a Chiron gate for me. The design Chiron, I don't remember. I have gate 3 and gate 42 are the two different Chiron gates. Anyway, that pain also of not being able to close sometimes, but needing to close, needing to find the closure. And so even after closing the school in 2021, emotionally I have not closed and I haven't let go. And I haven't let go of my identity in that context. Even though the soul of me, my spirit isn't connected to me being, leader, the founder of those dances in Portugal and the leader and the blah, 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 but even, I can't even say those words, it just feels like, blech. My mind has been so attached to that. That's why it feels so blech, because I talk about it, it's like, that's actually not me. But my mind was really excited about being attached to those words. The founder of Lindy Hop in Portugal. I see the words, I can't even say it. Because it just feels Like the authenticity is of who I am. Like that's not my identity. That is a role that I fulfilled, for good and for bad, sometimes well and sometimes shittily, in all of my limitations. And yet I see that my mind has not wanted to let go. So little by little I've let go of things related to that project, but I've still held on. And some of it has been like this bitterness of not feeling seen or remembered by people that I interacted with. I feel very forgotten. I feel really sad when I say that. And I know it's the bitterness that just hasn't been purged yet. And I can see why some people wouldn't want to have a connection with me after that. Because it's like, what do they remember about me? My not self. I was recognized for my not self. And I don't know if the word, like, I turned people off with my not self, like both of them. So I would turn people off with my not self, but it was also something that people loved about me. It was me bringing this energy. It was me amplifying the energy in the good stuff, right? And neither of those are really me. And the essence of me was in there, like living out my channels as best I could within a context that wasn't me. Like, I'm passive environment. I'm passive brain system. I'm, a receptive mind. I have no motors. I'm very inconsistent. I need to float. I need to not be forced into like creating strategies and plans, and like that's all I did with that. That is like strategies and plans for the business, for the community, for building a community. Look at my design. I am not tribal. I'm not made for building any kind of community. Like that's not me. I can see people that are doing things now here that are tribal. It's like, yeah, they're built for that. I was not. So, the both, yeah, what I was saying, I guess, is people who knew me in that context recognized what they recognized that they liked a lot of the times was my not self. Recognized for being a go-getter, a manifesting generator type of energy, recognized for like making things happen, dynamic, like that word would come, like being dynamic. And as my spirit is ridding itself of those things, because it's not me, I can play in that, but it's not me. But my mind is still quite identified with it. So that's that dichotomy, that's that deconditioning, which is overlapping with the healing and trauma healing and conflict shock healing, and so physical resolution. And maybe next time, because I think I've been talking for a long time, I don't know, I'm looking out the window. I'm doing the inner vision thing, like staring off into space and then just seeing what words appear. To talk about like physically what's been going on with me that reflects all of that kind of thing that I mentioned. So yeah, I don't know if I feel like saying, if you get to the end of a video and it resonated, I mean, if you want to shoot me an email and say something, I'm not very I'm not necessarily really good at like keeping up a connection, but if you shoot me an email, my email's on my website. It could just be interesting for me to hear like what resonates. I've had a couple of messages from people in the last few weeks, and it's like, oh, okay, somebody that connected with me and told me that they were listening, and that's like energy, that's invitation and energy that comes in. So it's like, oh, okay, that's resonating with somebody, and that can kind of stimulate, like I'm not focused, so that can kind of like bring it kind of a focus to maybe what I share. Who knows? It's just something I throw out there.